One of the cornerstones of the programs that we run, both with individuals and in corporate settings at Challenge Factory, is our SweetSpot methodology. Our SweetSpot methodology really encourages our clients and helps them to see how to think differently about what's next. It helps to make sure that just because you've been in one line of business or one industry, you don't default to thinking that that's all there is for you in your career. The SweetSpot methodology really has 4 components, and if you think about them as an overlapping Venn diagram, what we're aiming for is that sweet spot in the middle where all 4 circles, all 4 domains come together. The first domain that we take a look at is talents. And if you think about talents, talents are different than skills. Talents are innate things that you can do that other people around you can't do as easily. It's the point where you can sense getting frustrated because you're seeing someone trying to do something and thinking, why is this so hard? Or why is this taking so long? You could do it with a snap of fingers and they're struggling. And that's because it's a talent for you and it's a learned skill for them. And talents are really important and sometimes tricky to identify. So one tip that we have if you're looking to identify your talent is to ask people around you what they think you're talented in. Sometimes people have a hard time saying what their talents are. If you ask your friends, your family, your coworkers, they'll give you a good idea of what it is that you do that they wish they could do too. Moving to the second domain is our passion domain. And it's such an interesting one for us because we are not a company that says just follow your passion. To us, we think that just following your passion is not a recipe for success, but pursuing a career that lacks passion is certainly a recipe for disappointment. So when we talk about passions, we really take a look and say, you know, if the word passion trips you up, let's talk about what you care about. Let's make a list of all of those things that are important to you and that you care about, that you feel deeply about. And if you're having trouble identifying your passions, which some people do, a tip that we recommend to our clients is that you make a long list of everything that you think that you care about. And often we find that people put things down that they think they should put down because they sound like good things to be passionate about. Then we ask our clients to go back through that list and ask themselves for each point, how do you know? Where is there demonstrated evidence that you have passion for a certain thing on the list? Do you engage in it every day, every week? Where have you participated in it in the last month? If you haven't done it in the last month or 2 months, chances are it's something you wish you were passionate about, but you probably aren't. The third domain that we talk about is needs. And needs is such an interesting one that's also very laden down with shoulds. People often struggle to be able to articulate what it is that they need, where really this should be a list that you should be able to just go through at your own pace for your own purposes, not worrying about what other people think. And you should list things like, how much money do you need? What kind of hours do you need? What kind of team environment do you need? Do you need to be in charge? Do you need to not be in charge? Do you need to be able to pick kids up at the soccer field at 3 o'clock? Do you need your work to be tied to some kind of broader purpose or passion or something very tangible? Going through and listing out everything that you need is a real key to making sure that you're identifying a career that's going to make sense for you, that's going to be practical, and that you're going to be able to sustain in the long term. And if you're struggling to identify your needs, chances are you're coming up with ideas that seem half-baked, or when you talk about it, you lack confidence. If you lack confidence in your future direction, of all the domains that are in the 4 pieces of the sweet spot, it's needs that you probably haven't articulated enough. And the last piece of the puzzle is impact. And this is the one that is often the hardest to define. Impact is the effect that you want to have based on the work that you do on the world around you. It's the kinds of problems that you see out in the world that you say to yourself, that is worthy of my time and energy and effort, and that's where I want to focus. And the problems can vary. They can be global. They can be very, very local. So taking a look and thinking about what problems are there, if you were to look out in the world and say, the world would be a better place if only whatever that blank is, that becomes something for you to evaluate in terms of the impact that you want to make. And, you know, some people look around the world and they say, people are using technology in really inefficient ways. And the impact I'd like to have is to make it more effective for devices to communicate together. That's a very technical example, but it's something that really matters to a certain person. Someone else may look in the world and say, you know, the medical model of healthcare in Canada is not as efficient as something that's more holistic. I'd like to be involved in making an impact in how we deliver medical services to remote communities. Two very different impacts, both valid and both on the right direction for the person who feels that that's the direction they need to be heading in. Altogether, these 4 domains make up a sweet spot, and the trick is to figure out which pieces of each element filter into the middle. What makes it into the spark? And what's interesting, what's a talent that you may have, but doesn't make it into the middle, and therefore is something that you should set aside and look to satisfy in a different way. It's not part of your career path. This is the work that we do with our clients at Challenge Factory, and it's a great process to go through. And I hope that you will have a chance to go through the same kind of thinking as you look ahead in your own career.